Yes, it's really depressing that the first episode I'm going to be reviewing from Steven Universe is bad. But then again, this is a season 4 episode, so I honestly think that in the later seasons, it's not going to be as better as the other seasons that came before it. And after watching several videos regarding of the fan base and how people have mixed opinions on the later seasons of Steven Universe, I really need to keep an open mind about that, because I'm currently in the 3rd season, and I only watched this episode for preparation for this review. And I'm just gonna say right now that I've watched the other 2 episodes of Rocknaldo from seasons 1 and 2. Not sure if there's another Rocknaldo episode in season 3, but if there is, I might consider on skipping it, because this episode, Rocknaldo, is honestly really one of the worst appearances from Rocknaldo. Mainly the fact that since this is an episode where we've heard something about Bloodstone, which is another gem, you would probably expect to actually see that gem taken to full action into this episode, since there are other different gems in the show. Apparently it didn't. The episode starts with Rocknaldo completely handing out flyers to the citizens of Beach City. He gives one to Steven, and then when Steven completely saw what the flyer was about, he also realized that gems, which also includes the crystal gems, are rock people. Yeah. I honestly, it really goes to show that Rocknaldo still hasn't learned anything whatsoever on not trying to treat some kind of respect towards the other gems. And the way that he tries to make it up on just saying that crystal gems is fighting off rock people, and the fact that they don't usually do what humans do in human society, is honestly making him really unlikable at this point. I know the last statement I made isn't mostly true, but at the same time, if you watch the first 2 episodes involving Rocknaldo, well, it involves him meeting Steven for the first time and making about in his web blog episode where he completely narrates of what's going on between the crystal gems, and at the end of the episode he got no views whatsoever. You can really tell that he's honestly one of the worst characters from the show. Even though that I've watched the first 2 seasons, the episodes I've seen from him is honestly one of his worst appearances. And the sad thing is that he isn't really redeemable of what he does. Yes, there are some episodes that he did appear that he doesn't trash talk about the crystal gems or making any gnarly blog things about the crystal gems, and he actually is in a restaurant war just trying to stop it. But at the same time, other than that, episodes like this just makes it really difficult to actually see him really redeemable and likable. And we've already just started. Since that Rocknaldo is actually regretful for what he's been doing involving the flyers, he decides to head home. Which is actually a good thing for the gems, is that it can give him more time to actually think about his mistakes. But apparently that didn't take long, because he uploaded a video on his blog website about, actually his blog video on his YouTube channel, whatever parody Steven Universe's YouTube channel is in the show. He's completely regretful for all the bad things he said, but then with his twisted dialogue, he decides to actually join the crystal gems because he wants to be a crystal gem, which completely doesn't actually make these crystal gems really happy. And you know what? I'm actually siding with him. Rocknaldo just doesn't actually learn anything or just learn any lessons for what he does in any of these episodes. And I'm saying that because at this point, it's starting to become really annoying to actually see him just join the crystal gems, and throughout the majority of this episode, he doesn't get to know Garnet, Amethyst, and Paul about what they do when it comes to crystal gems. He doesn't do any of that whatsoever. And what does he do? he completely has conversations with Steven and just completely acting like a selfish jerk to him. Yeah, when we completely see him taking a sword that he's going to be using for combat, it's revealed that he can't be able to come with the crystal gems in Steven because he isn't full of fighting experience yet, and he needs to take time off, just like what Steven did in the earlier episodes of season 1. And not only that, the fact that Steven is a gem and Rocknaldo isn't, he completely is going against Steven on the fact that he is a crystal gem and the fact that he is a hybrid of a human and a crystal gem. And Rocknaldo is just acting casual of just trying to be better than everyone else and just trying to be really important, despite the fact that throughout the majority of his time inside of Steven's beach house, he just completely does absolutely nothing except doing training during the night. Since that he's calling himself Bloodstone, he completely stays awake through every single night. And the fact that he completely questions on the fact that Steven still needs some sleep despite the fact that he's still a human, this really makes him really unlikable and just unbearable. Tell me about it. If there was a nerd who is completely like this and is dealing on just trying to figure out some other way to do this kind of stuff to thinking that it's completely okay, you can really tell that you pretty much want them out of the house. But the reason why Steven is not doing it is because he's trying to be nice to him like he does with the other characters. However, Rocknaldo is just completely unlikable for how selfish he is. He completely calls Connie Steven's girlfriend because he has a soul of her own, and she completely comes over despite the fact that she doesn't live at Steven's beach house. And then when Steven finally completely puts his foot down and completely expressing on everything of what Rocknaldo is doing wrong, Rocknaldo just acts completely casual about it. Yeah. Seriously, Steven tried to actually put his foot down, and then Rocknaldo still doesn't care whatsoever. Like, are you trying to tell me that this is the character that was supposed to actually find some kind of likability because he is a guy with a blog, from the words from Steven? No, not even close. Especially since that for the remainder of this episode, Steven tries to actually set things right with Rocknaldo, who just done nothing but just completely making stupid statements and not even thinking ahead of what he can actually express with the crystal gems instead of just treating them as terrible people. With other people besides Laws being respectful towards Steven, I honestly think that Rocknaldo doesn't even actually have any kind of compassion of anything when it comes to the life of Steven has. When Steven says when love is needed or something like that, well, it's done for the right time on when people respect with each other, that is something that Rocknaldo needs to understand and learn. But apparently, he just completely falls to the ground because he's been awake for an entire week, and this just does nothing but having the crystal gems and Steven just taking Rocknaldo back to the french fry stand. Yeah. That's just basically how the crystal gems just place Rocknaldo by the french fry stand. And I will admit, the joke with an amethyst just mimicking Rocknaldo is probably the best joke in this entire episode. But as for the ending, it's been 3 long weeks since Steven had last seen Rocknaldo, and he said that he became a jug more than a bloodstone, and he wants to be an outsider forever for the rest of his life. This is not only a terrible lesson, but it just adds more insults on the fact that people who are expecting a bloodstone gem in this show get easily hosed or just completely get disappointed on the fact that it never happened in this. Now, for me personally, Bloodstone, despite the fact that I'm not an expert on gems, but after watching the first 2 seasons and bits of season 3, I can really tell that I can really understand that the gems in this are really that impressive, and what made Steven Universe one of the best cartoons in Cartoon Network. So when we completely see in the ending where we don't get to see a bloodstone whatsoever, and as it turns out that Rocknaldo was but not completely bloodstone the entire time, it really makes everything in this episode mostly pointless. Especially the ending where Rocknaldo did a Photoshop of him and Paul holding hands, which is just really, really bad. This episode is honestly probably going to be the only time I'm ever going to talk about Rocknaldo. If I'm ever going to do a month or a marathon of Steven Universe in the future, I'm going to do everything in my power to avoid any Rocknaldo episodes. And even when it comes to Cartoon Crisis, again in the future, I'm definitely going to be avoiding Rocknaldo episodes 100%. Because as far as I'm concerned, just by watching this episode along with the other episodes from the earlier seasons, Rocknaldo is honestly those characters that you just cannot stand because of his character trait of being a nerd. But at least when it comes to other nerds who actually are respectful, mainly for how they actually are aware of the situation, Rocknaldo is just basically a bad representation when all he does is just do the things his way instead of doing the way for other people so everything could be alright. Believe me, doing the right thing is always important, and just doing your own thing, sometimes it kind of makes sense if you want to put your foot down, but in episodes like this, it's not acceptable. And it's honestly kind of just depressing to actually see Pearl, Amethyst, and Garnet not doing much in this episode, considering that this episode has something to do with Bloodstone, but apparently it's only been used for a nickname for Rocknaldo. I have no idea onto how the people who wrote this episode would consider this a good idea, even for a filler episode that has nothing to do with the Crystal Gems. Yes, this episode does actually involve the Crystal Gems, but it has nothing to do with fighting monsters, stopping one of the antagonists, or completely lulling the fact that Bloodstone is an actual gem. And besides, I honestly think that they completely scrapped those ideas and just completely come up with this poorly excuse of a Steven Universe episode, while it had the name Bloodstone in it, but not showing the stone of the Bloodstone whatsoever. I think at this point, I completely addressed everything I can discuss about this episode. And I get that this is depressing, that this is the first episode from Steven Universe that I'm reviewing on my YouTube channel. But don't worry. Other than reviewing the Christmas episode for next month, I'm going to be doing I'm going to do something really special with Steven Universe next year, since that I'm going to try to make some major changes when it comes to my 2021 schedule and onwards. Hopefully. But as of now, this episode deserves a 3.75 out of 10.